It is the origin story everyone knows. A beautiful, high-ranking angel rebels against God, loses the ensuing war, and is cast out of heaven to become the ultimate cosmic villain. But what if this grand cosmic biography was never actually about a supernatural rebellion? What if instead it was of highly specific, ancient political satire aimed directly at a human dictator? The entire mythology traces back to a single passage in the book of Isaiah, chapter 14. It contains the famous lines, "How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth." Reading those words with modern assumptions completely hides what the original author was trying to do. To the ancient Israelites, this text had absolutely nothing to do with hell or fallen angels. To decode what Isaiah was actually saying, we have to look up at the ancient night sky, and then dig into the brutal political warfare of the ancient Near East. The morning star mentioned in the text is a real, observable object. It isn't actually a star at all. It is the planet Venus. Venus follows a predictable pattern called a synodic cycle. It appears in the pre-dawn sky, ambitiously climbing the horizon. But this climb has a limit. The moment the sun rises, dawn floods the sky, and Venus is completely swallowed by the greater light. To ancient skywatchers, this orbital mechanics display looked like a literal drama. An entity rises in the dark, tries to reach the highest point in the heavens, and is inevitably struck down by a superior, unmatched power. This daily astronomical clockwork gave ancient cultures the perfect visual raw material to construct myths about hubris, ambition, and ultimate failure. We see exactly how this was interpreted in the ruins of the ancient city of Ugarit in modern-day Syria. The Canaanite culture here believed the cosmos was governed by a divine council of lesser and greater gods. In this worldview, these various deities actively vied for authority and status on a sacred cosmic peak known as Mount Zaphon. Their texts record a story called the Baal Cycle. In it, a lesser god named Athtar, closely associated with the planet Venus, marches up Mount Zaphon to seize the throne of the supreme storm god. When Athtar sits down, his feet don't even reach the footstool. He is physically too small to hold supreme power. Humiliated, he abandons the high throne and descends to the earth to rule the underworld instead. When researchers compare this Ugaritic text with Isaiah chapter 14, the structural and vocabulary overlaps are striking. Both describe a brilliant figure trying to ascend to a divine mountain assembly, failing and being cast down into the pit. The Canaanites took the physical reality of a fading planet and translated it into a religious doctrine about the strict limits of lesser gods. Let's fast forward to the 8th century BCE. The geopolitical landscape is in crisis. The Babylonian Empire is oppressively expanding, crushing neighboring nations, and heavily oppressing the Israelites. By this time, Hebrew prophets had adopted and modified the divine council concept. In their framework, Yahweh held absolute, supreme authority over all other spiritual beings. When the prophet Isaiah sat down to write against the king of Babylon, he didn't invent a new story. He hijacked the region's existing mythology to mock the emperor's claims of divine power. Isaiah is essentially calling the Babylonian king a knockoff Athtar. The king thinks he is the morning star, ascending above the clouds to sit on the cosmic throne, but is destined to be overpowered by the rising sun, collapsing into the grave. Isaiah 14 was written as a highly targeted political polemic, a devastating literary weapon designed to expose a violent empire as weak, arrogant, and temporary. Eventually, the Babylonian Empire fell. Centuries passed, empires rose and collapsed, and the immediate geopolitical crisis of Isaiah's time faded into history. As the original target of the text disappeared from public memory, subsequent generations lost track of the astronomical metaphor of Venus and the Canaanite myth of Athtar. Later apocalyptic writers inherited this evocative imagery of a celestial usurper falling from the sky. They repurposed those verses, blending them with other texts to build out an entirely new theological framework explaining the origins of cosmic evil. The final transformation happened in translation. The original Hebrew word for the morning star, Hallel, was translated into Latin as Lucifer. What started as a descriptive noun for a planet became a proper name. A highly specific, brilliant taunt against a human dictator's arrogance was stripped of its context, reshaped by history, and ultimately handed down to the modern world as the definitive biography of the devil.